So the hood's removed. Take a peek at the engine bay. Factory air conditioning system. That's either going to be reconditioned or replaced. The engine will be pulled out and be shipped to an engine shop to be gone over and rebuilt, as well as the transmission. Brake lines and such will be replaced. We're going to be putting front disc brakes on this car as well. But again, overall, very good condition. Everything's there. Very good starting point for a restoration. Going to continue by removing the bumpers. And the mirror, as well as any of the exterior trim. Some of these parts we want to get off and get in process of being refinished. We don't want to be waiting till the last minute to take these steps. So despite what I thought or would have guessed, pleasantly surprised to see the antenna works. I'm sure that's a hard to find original item, but it works. Another simple test prior to restoration is seeing what works and what doesn't. License plate lights on, side marker lights on. It's nice to see a lot of these things. Looks like we got a light out here. Compared to that side, it's a good start. So we got a few hours of work into this. Got the front end sheet metal all tore off. Everything is dismantled. Here we have our box with our engine bay parts and hardware. And these are all our bags with our body hardware. We're probably going to replace most of these bolts, but it's good to know what came out so you know what to look for when things are going back together. We get the wiring harness for the headlights. Back here we have our bumpers all stripped down. They can be delivered and sent out for re-chrome. Here's our core support, which is in amazingly good shape. No rust on the body mounts. Very nice shape. That will also be sent out for sandblasting. These parts here, most of these will get sandblasted and powder coated. It's the AC condenser. Some parts that are going in the storage unit until we need them. Some more chrome parts. Some will be replaced, some will be re-chromed. Hood hinges. The rusty crusty fenders we're going to replace. Got our back bumper torn off. And as I said, this is about a day's worth of work. Maybe a little more than a day. If you're organized and you do things systematically, these projects can get done in a very timely fashion. Doors are removed. All the vacuum lines for the door locks are all color coded, but have been labeled, written down, so we know how it goes back together. Front seats are gone. This is a power seat. Actually still works. Not great, but it still works. It's just a regular traditional style seat. You have to move that one yourself. This door's gone. The doors were in very good shape. Two little spots of rust that'll have to be fixed. In a usual spot down in the front lower corners, just around one of the holes where the weather strip clips in. Door panels parts. Door panels are over here. They'll be sent out as well, get reconditioned. We've got our pile of stainless and chrome parts building. The horns, which they work. All my door parts. Power antenna still works, as seen earlier in this video. Get all these parts into the parts washer, get them cleaned up. Like the latches, test the vacuum lock actuators. Make sure they work with the vacuum tester. Tail lights are out, trunk lid's off. Mess of parts and tools in here. Everything coming off rather nicely. Only a few broken bolts so far. So here's some more progress made on the 442. Starting to tear down some components on the front of the engine. Interior is all pulled out. Floors on this car are beautiful, solid. Toe board area, which are always rusted out. These things are too nice. Saw the trunk floor earlier. Just can't get over how nice this all is under the convertible top. That's known to be a problem area too, and that is absolutely solid. But when we look inside here, you can see that there is some bad quarter panel work. This part here is the replacement skin, and obviously the darker panel is where they went right over the top of the old skin. So the left side of the car will more than likely be getting an entire full quarter put on it. The right side of the car I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but yep, in here there's some bad work there. And there's some problem areas in here, right around the wheelhouse. Of course, we got some problems down there. So once that panel is stripped, that will determine if it's getting a full quarter or not. But we do have them. And sometimes it's easier to just install a full quarter than it is to do a bunch of patch panels and a bunch of small repairs. So on to the next thing to be worked on is the windshield trim. Get that all off. Start dismantling the dash. We've got convertible top frame all disassembled. That'll go out for sandblasting. That'll be repainted satin black. And of course we have our big pile of parts over here. Some of our chrome and stainless. Our rear window regulators and parts all laid out. AC compressor, convertible top, cylinders and motor, all functioning, although the cylinders will be replaced because they are leaking pretty well. So those we can, those are going to go bye-bye. Well, let's keep moving along and get some more things taken apart. So here we are, a little further along with the teardown. This is all the vacuum hoses and manifold for the power door locks, and that's the button to open the trunk that's located in the glove box. Got some other parts that can go into storage. We've got our gauges taken out. Speedometer is going to need a little service. A couple of the connector pins broke on removal. There's the glove box parts. Dashboard all tore out. All the duct work, the old radio, the old glove box we don't need. Everything's labeled, so we know where everything goes back together. Don't need to label a steering column. brake mechanism. This is our main wiring harness in the car. All the ends are tagged. Again, so when it goes back together, it's not a guessing game. We got more parts piling up over here to get sandblasted and painted. Our hardware boxes are overflowing. I have to regroup on that. And our engine bay is missing even more parts. Windshield is removed. All the wiring under the dash, most of which has been removed. Still have to remove the heater box. And the fresh air duct will be removed. The underside of the dash will then be coated with rust paint inside the pockets where the hinges bolt. It's all going to get a rust coating before it goes back together. This is something that could be done so simply when cars are built, and I'll never understand why, other than car companies want to sell more cars. But we're moving right along here. Some of this wiring and so on is going to be left in the car because the floors, which are immaculate, don't need to be sandblasted, but they will get a coating of some sort just to help for longevity. But they are nice, which I probably covered that already. Dash is in nice shape. There is some damage. I don't know if you can, yeah, there you can see there's a dent in the middle of the dash. That'll have to be addressed. No big deal. So we're going to organize some parts, put some things away. Going to get this car on the lift. Got a couple wires here to disconnect, going down to the starter. And we got to finalize getting the engine and trans loosened up to get that pulled out. Engine and transmissions are removed. AC box removed. Everything. All the metal. Very strong. Most cars have a tendency to rust out along this track here. This car is really solid, as I keep saying, but it's nice to take things apart and not find a disaster in every corner. Got our engine all stripped down. Drive shaft, manifolds, starter and alternator will go out to be reconditioned. Transmission's going to go out and get reconditioned. Obviously the engine is going to get gone over. This car was driven into the garage when it was parked 20 years ago, and it was stored in a garage in a house for that period of time. So all those things considered, this engine should need a very basic rebuild without any major reconstruction. Let's keep our fingers crossed on that. Looking at the underside, all these suspension components are going to be removed. Rebushed, well, removed, sandblasted, powder coated, rebushed, brake lines and such are all going to be replaced. Again, looking at the bottom of this car, it's in perfect condition. All these chassis components, along with the frame, as I said, will be sent out, sandblasted, powder coated, and rebushed before they get put back in. These areas too. Yep, there's more of those pop rivets. A little bit of rot in there. Overall, not bad. The trunk drops are in decent shape, and that looks like the factory undercoating on that. Again, this side over here all looks very factory and sound. A little bit of rot work there. It's a pretty common spot on most cars to rot out. Same within here. The wheel, if I had the wheel off, we'd have a better view. But from what I can see, it looks pretty good. Again, all this factory undercoating, I don't think I'm gonna even touch. I'll only go as far as stripping this rear pan. Maybe. I don't even see a need to do that. Just clean the car really well. Put another coat of undercoating on it to make it look fresh. There's no need to spend customers' money on things that don't need to be done, or try and fool a customer into believing it needs to be done when it really doesn't. Sorry if some of this is hard to see. Doing my best here. Give you kind of an idea of what everything looks like. Should be pretty straightforward once that time comes. The next step of this restoration is going to be quarter panels. The body will stay bolted on the frame on its wheels, either on jack stands or blocks or what have you, but in its static position. The doors and the deck lid will be reinstalled to get gaps right. When we do this, areas like this, clean these up before I put the door back on. Clean all the threads out. You don't want to be cross-threading any bolts. But we'll get the doors lined back up. Before the quarters get taken off, you want to do this. You want to have the doors gapped right and the deck lid. Put the deck lid back on too. Here's my new replacement hinges provided by the customer. But the deck lid also will go on so that when the new quarter is installed on both sides, it's going to go, should go back in the same spots, maintaining the same original gaps. You never want to put quarter panels on either on a rotisserie or like so, like I have this car sitting, just sitting on the lift. You want the car down on the suspension, down on the wheels. You want the chassis relaxed in its natural static position. These full frame cars, full frame or not, when you lift them up with a 4-post lift, or a 2-post lift, I'm sorry, they flex substantially. So you always want to do your metal work and your rust repair with the car sitting the way it naturally would sit. Because if you have the car preloaded with flex and then you weld a panel on, it may snap, crackle, pop when you do get it back down on its axles. That's my advice for that part of the project. So stay tuned for that video. Thanks for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel for all the upcoming videos featuring this car and all other restorations being performed at DTR Automotive.